Damn, that ending. So Zod is fighting the Emperor, or an army of apostles are fighting the Emperor at the end of this volume. Oh my. Oh my. Am I gonna get to see Griffith versus Guts, or is Guts gonna see Griffith? Because if that oh shit. Like, I wonder exactly how Guts is gonna act if he sees Griffith, because if Griffith's army is there, that must mean that Griffith must be there. So, oh shit. So, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the next volume. But anyways, Volume 31 review. Now, before I start, I actually want to show you all the posters inside, because, I mean, hey, you all like to see them. You like to see the artwork of Kentaro. So, here's the poster there. Look at that badass. Oh, dude. That, I have to say, right there, it looks pretty fucking badass. Props to Kentaro for such great artwork. You gotta love that. For the Berserker mode inside of Guts' like armor, and seeing, Shurike, helping him out. And then on this side, you get to see the crusty old Kushan old man. Yay. Still amazing artwork though, but he's very crusty looking. But besides that, moving on to the actual volume of Berserk. A very simple volume. Once again, it's a very, very simple volume, and I'm willing to bet that this review is going to be rather short again, because, I mean, it's very straightforward. I mean, this volume is Guts pretty much fighting Daka, and then fighting the whale-ish elephant-looking thing, solo, and he pretty much goes into his Berserk mode, fights them, and after he does that, Shurike reveals that she can actually help out Guts in this armor, to where he can actually be aware, not, be crazy Berserk mode. And then, the magical Kushan dude pops up, fights Guts, fights, Serpico. They defeat him along with that, like, water snake god, and the serpent controls, like, water elements, to the Emperor popping up at the end of the volume, offering Guts an alliance, which I was like, holy shit. And pretty much the volume ends with Zod and other apostles coming in to pretty much wreck the Emperor. So that's technically the quick overview of the volume. It's a rather simple volume. I mean, it really is. I mean, majority of it is rather simple, but there is mainly just action in this volume. And I mean, hey, battle volumes are not that bad, because I can clearly tell we're getting into the main battle-orientated stuff of this arc. Like, for instance, the previous, volumes were all set up for what we're probably seeing now. For instance, the actual battle. I mean, we've had all this development, these past development for all these different characters in previous volumes. I think it's time now that probably Kentaro is wanting to dive into the actual battle stuff when it comes to his series, so I think that's exactly why probably the overall development of some characters have been kind of slow in these previous volumes, these past two volumes, because it's more action-based. But anyways, diving into this volume, one thing I want to point out, okay, is freaking Guts actually being able to control his Berserker armor, and I'm like, oh my god, so this is a great stepping point. That is a massive stepping point for Guts to actually be able to kind of control stuff. I mean, he's technically not fully controlling it. It's because of Shurike being attached to him that he can actually control it. So, technically, the only way he can control his Berserker armor is if Shurike is also attached to him when he goes Berserk. And so, technically, he still has that weakness if he goes Berserk in the middle of battle and Shurike's not around. He can pretty much kill everybody. But I mean, at the moment, we found out that if Shurike is near him when he transforms, she can keep him in, a normal state, and while keeping his Berserker power. So with this volume, like I said, that's one of the main points of this volume that actually really stood out, because now Guts can go berserk. He can wreck things, wreck demons, and turn into a monster while keeping his sanity. And at the exact same time, we find out some more inner workings of the Berserker armor. For instance, even though Shurike is there and helping out Guts in this volume, even if she is there, he can still lose control. For instance, if he lets hatred and rage and stuff consume him or plague his mind, he pretty much will lose control. And the only way to actually draw out the armor's power is by hatred and rage. And so he has to actually keep it at a level to where he can really control it. So technically, Guts is fighting his own hatred and rage. It's something right there I find very interesting, because hatred and rage have been a part of Guts' character since after the eclipse. I mean, let's think about this, okay? The entire emotions that's actually driven Guts and made his feet walk forward is rage, hatred and vengeance. That's what's really made Guts walk since the beginning of this series. And to see how this very element can actually cost him his life or cost him his friends is something I find very twisted when it comes to Kentaro's writing with this volume. For instance, actually finding out that his hatred and rage is actually something that could possibly cost him his friends, and it's something he actually has to fight against. I find that very different, and I like the irony in that, because like I said, Guts' character was tied around this hatred, rage, and vengeance, and to find out that his, armor is tied to that with his emotions when Shurike's trying to help him was something I was quite shocked to find out. So Guts is technically fighting his own true self he's had since the very beginning of the series. So Kentaro, that's twisted, man. That's fucking twisted. So, moving past that, in the state, from what we find out also in this volume, if Guts, technically is in his, aware state when he's in Berserker armor and Shurike is attached to him. Now, from what we find out, if, Shurike is attached to Guts and all that, Shurike can actually summon, elements or gods and stuff to actually embody Guts' sword. And I was like, oh, shit. So, pretty much, we find out that technically Shurike can put different elements inside of Guts' sword. Like if he wants a fire elemental sword, a water elemental sword, lightning based sword, stuff like that. And those entire elements, I was like, oh my god. So Guts is getting another upgrade technically, because if Shurike is attached to him and she, gives his, sword a little bit of extra oomph, he could cause a lot more damage, but at the cost of Guts though. Because I mean, we gotta look at the repercussions of this volume. Guts technically had the will of fire go inside of that sword. Shurike technically summoned it inside of his sword, and in this volume, technically, it damaged Guts. Guts was entirely on fire, so it's not a move that I think Guts and Shurike can use constantly, because Guts did get injured, and I'm kind of curious to see exactly how injured he really is after this fight, because, I mean, he's been fighting crazy non-stop, and after what we know what happened in the last time he went in his Berserk state, pretty much he was left injured, and the armor stuck to him for 3+ days, 3 days and nights, and they couldn't rip it off of him, so I wonder exactly how his armor is going to be once this fight is over, because he's probably really damaged after that fire. I mean, he was literally on fucking fire when he was attacking that water serpent god. So, moving past that, talking about different things. Now, the main thing that this entire volume centers on is this fight with this Kushan sorcerer. And this sorcerer is really, really different from the normal witches we have seen for the course of this series. For instance, right at the beginning of this fight, you could tell he is completely different from Shurike, because his magic is kind of different. And he even states that in this volume that his magic is quite different. The execution of his magic is different compared to Shurike's. And I found out, that's interesting. I wonder exactly what really makes his magic different. Is it because he got his magic from maybe the Emperor? Because, I mean, we did see, I think about 3 or 4 volumes back, I remember those, Kushan that were doing the ritual and stuff, and they were using familiars to work with them. When they died, they had the smoke come out of their mouth, and I remember I stated in that volume, that's kind of weird, because the Emperor, when he was first displayed, he was like fog and smoke, and what came out of those Kushan's mouth when they technically died was fog and smoke. So it made me believe that they were tied to the Kushan, and that's why they got their magic power. Maybe that's exactly why this Kushan dude can use such extreme magic, and it's quite different from how Shurike uses it. But here's the thing, okay? With the magic this dude used, he was actually controlling, a freaking water serpent. He was controlling this water serpent god, technically. And this water serpent actually could use elements, water elementals. And when he was using it, this, serpent had, this giant fucking, snake shape. It was giant. It was a small little solid white albino snake. It was small. It was like this. And this snake was actually able to control all these water elementals, so it was a really powerful fucking snake to be able to do something like that. And on top of that, this dude was actually able to control that and use its magic. He was able to use this, snake's magic by causing, water tornadoes, pretty much. You saw these water tornadoes popping up, and Guts was fighting. I was like, oh my fucking god, it looked fucking epic, dude. The artwork in those panels, damn. Kentaro, you never cease to impress me when it comes to some of your artwork. In the panels, of this volume. Oh my god, the water, the fighting, the panels of Guts in his Berserk state, like, dude, like, that panel in this volume, I was like, dude, that looks so badass. When you see Guts turn around after saving everybody, you see that eye pop out, I'm like, oh my god, that fucking artwork, oh, Kentaro. But anyways, pretty much this dude, his magic, he pretty much used the Serpent's magic, technically. Like, he was borrowing the Serpent's magic to be able to dish a lot of damage to Guts, and which in turn, eventually, Guts and Shurike overpowered him with the Flame Will, and they won. Now, the thing is, okay, with this other section of the fight, you move on to the actual Will of Fire, which I want to get into. So, we find out one major point in this volume, and it's actually really important. I could see it playing a major part later on down the road. We find out that it is a lot harder to summon gods, spirits, or whatever when you're in a city, because there's a lack of spirit presence. Like, I mean, there is spirits, but it's harder to find them because, there's so many people, and just the presence is lacking because, people's taken over the territory, and because of that, Shurike actually had a hard time discovering where to find a god, and so she had to actually use, like, an unnatural god called the Will of Flame that was technically kind of like a man-made god, kind of, because it was like the god of the battlefield, or flames on the battlefield, and so Shurike actually used this, which was quite shocking to see how she was still able to find this god, even though technically it was a lot harder than normal. So I found that cool, and I also like how she states that technically no place is there where there's no spirits. For instance, every single place in the world has a spirit. Somewhere you could find one, but it's harder in some places. So that little point in this volume is definitely going to prove to be very important later on down the road. Now, things are, okay, with this other sections of the volume, it goes into the actual parts with the Emperor. The Emperor pops up. And with the actual Emperor popping up, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, when I saw the Emperor pop up after, the dude got wrecked, like the Water Serpent God dude got wrecked, the Emperor pops up, and I'm thinking, like, how the fuck are they gonna fight this dude? This dude is, like, pretty much could be considered a Demon King, and he's fighting Griffith and his army. I mean, we got to see his strength a couple volumes back, and I was like, oh my god, his strength is ridiculous. So, when I saw him pop up in this volume, and you saw his face and his smile and shit, I'm like, oh god. I mean, how do you fight someone that's solid fog or smoke? I mean, you gotta think about that, okay? From what we have seen from this dude, he seems like almost fucking immortal. Like, he's solid fog and smoke. How do you kill a demon that's solid fog and smoke? I mean, it's like trying to kill air. Like, seriously. Like, imagine trying to kill air with a sword. That's pretty much what Guts is fighting, technically. Or Zod at the end of this volume is fighting. So how do you kill someone that is fog or smoke? I mean, I don't know how the fuck you can do something like that. I don't. But we'll have to see. We will have to see, because there will probably be a way to bring this dude down. But, I mean, I'm questioning, like, how do you bring someone down that's fog or smoke? Now, other things, though. Getting back onto the actual Emperor part. So, the questions I had with the last volume actually play a role in this volume. I was like, oh, shit, when I actually saw it. Like, the actual questions I had in the last volume, I stated that I wonder what the Emperor is going to do, because technically the Emperor is against Griffith, and, we know Guts is against Griffith, so two common enemies, technically can work together to take down another common enemy. So, I was wondering about that, of what Guts would do if he actually encountered the Emperor, and he found out that the Emperor was against, Griffith, what would exactly happen. I love how Kentaro actually answered that question. I love that so fucking much, because to see how actually Guts kind of slightly got interested with the Emperor's, request, I mean, here's the thing, actually. I personally believe if Casca was not there, or any of his, fellow companions, like, for instance, Farnese or Pico, Puck, and all them, I'm willing to bet you right now Guts would have chosen to work with the Emperor. I'm willing to place money that Guts would have worked with the Emperor if he did not have Casca and stuff with him, because that was one of the perfect moments for Guts to really make an alliance with the Emperor to take down Griffith, because, I mean, from what we have seen from this Emperor, he's fucking ridiculous. I mean, you have the entire apostles from the entire world against this one dude, and Griffith himself, and he's wanting to fight Griffith and stuff, and he's already demonstrated his power, so it would have been a really smart move for Guts to choose this dude's side, but for him not to, it just shows you how much he's also changed, because I know for a fact Guts most likely would have chosen his side if it wasn't for his companions. But moving back on to the topic of the discussion, I'm glad Kentaro actually settled this. I really am, because that was one thing I was really wondering about, and I'm glad we got this actual conversation. And pretty much Guts said, go to fucking hell. That's exactly what Guts said to the Emperor. Like, he's like, fuck you, nope. That's what pretty much the dialogue in simple terms meant. And the Emperor got pretty pissed and shot lightning at Guts. Now, here's the actual shocking part. Guts survived 2 shots of lightning. I mean, the first time Serpico intervenes and pretty much uses, you know, his wind elementals, and he kind of negates the lightning for the most part. Second time, Guts literally gets hit by lightning, and he survives. I'm like, whoa! To survive lightning, you must be incredible. Like, oh my god. And the Emperor states that it's because of his, you know, natural, like, will to live, pretty much. That's, you know, Guts' will to live. That's how he survived the lightning. So, Guts pretty much won that lightning strike, won against that lightning strike because of his sheer willpower. So, props to fucking Guts, man. Oh my god. Fighting even a lightning bolt, he survives. Like, oh my god. And on top of that, the third strike, right before he gets hit by the Emperor, he actually sits his sword into the ground to where, you know, it becomes a lightning rod. So, once again, Guts using his head for tactics and stuff really quick to actually save his ass. So, to see how Guts also used his sword as a lightning rod to save against the Emperor, also shocked the Emperor, which led into the conversation of, you know, him asking to join and stuff like that. So, that leads to the actual ending conclusion of this volume. So, the ending of the volume is rather simple. It's really quick, too. It mainly focuses on the Apostles coming in, Zod coming in, for instance, wrecking the dock. Oh, my God, dude. Dude, Zod just, Zod makes an appearance in this volume, and he just, he destroys this dock. Like, you see him tearing through Daka and shit, and then all of a sudden, you know, you see him flying with his apostles behind him and stuff, leading an army of apostles, flying at the Emperor, and he goes straight for the fucking Emperor. I'm like, whoa, dude! Zod goes straight through the Emperor, and I'm like, oh god. And he actually survives the hit, but he lands on the ground after like 2 to 3 hits. He lands on the ground, and it looks like he's unconscious, and he's in front of Guts. Oh god. What the hell? Like, I mean, if Zod cannot even fight this dude, okay? Like, from what we have seen demonstrated through the course of this series, Zod the Immortal, or Zod the Badass, or Zod the person that wrecks your face, the only person I've ever seen actually defeat him is Griffith, and because he's a god hand now. And so, the Emperor's actually giving Zod a run for his money, and I'm thinking to myself, like, how the hell is Guts supposed to fight someone like this if technically even Zod can't fight him? Because, I mean, from what we saw demonstrated, Zod and, you know, Guts are pretty much similar in strength from the last fight we saw. And so, to see how Zod technically couldn't even put a dent in this dude, or all these apostles too, like, oh my god, there's like 30 to 40 apostles in the sky, and this Emperor dude just electrified them all and fried them to death, and they just collapsed. It just shows you the strength of, you know, Guts to survive that one lightning strike, because all the apostles got fried, incinerated, and they fell to the ground dead. Zod, we know for a fact probably Zod is not dead. I mean, I highly doubt with the ending of this volume that Zod is dead. He is way too important as a character. He's way too iconic as a character to kill off now, because we still have so much more we need to know about Zod. So I highly doubt Zod is going to die by the Emperor, because, like I said, Zod and the Skeleton Knight needs to happen once again. We need to exactly see why they have a rivalry, and we also need to find out more about them. We also need to actually see that final confrontation with Zod versus Guts, because that needs to fucking happen. Straight up needs to happen. So, I highly doubt Zod is going to die. But the bigger question is, what the fuck are they gonna do? Because this Emperor dude is there. The literal Emperor is there versus the entirety of the, like, Apostle army from what I can see, and they're getting wrecked. And so the only way I can see how this Emperor dude can fall at this moment, in probably next volume, is by Griffith appearing. But if Griffith appears, that raises another question. What is Guts gonna do when he sees Griffith? Because we know for a fact, you know, if Guts sees Griffith, he's going to charge him. He's going to fucking charge him, and he's going to try to kill him. And then, which will lead to probably Zod and the other demons trying to take down Guts, which would kind of be crazy. So that might turn into like a 3-way fight. You know, the Emperor versus the new Neo band of Hawks, and then Guts and his company. Oh, God. That'd be fucking epic if that shit happens. That would be so epic. But, so yeah, that's pretty much this volume of Berserk. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I love y'all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.